All right, welcome back to Vegas Unwrapped. Aaron Phillips, Ricky Cash, Bobcat on the board, JPEG behind the camera, and you, the listener. Joining us now in studio, we pull all expenses out on this one because we want to make sure that we're doing it right, Mr. Cash.
We went into the red for this.
Red shirts as you're wearing.
Get it? Red. Never mind.
Okay.
All right.
Not good.
I was hoping the limo would be on time tonight.
Oh, yeah. Well, when you pay for the wicker, what do they call those things in China that they use? The wicker? Rickshaws. Yes, that's right. It's hard to find good help nowadays.
I'm telling you.
Joining us here in studio is also a DJ that's been doing this quite some time, since 1987. Mr. Ric Gould joins us. How are you, Rick?
Hello. This is kind of cool. I've never been on this end of the microphone before.
Yes. Really? All the years you've been on the radio, you've never really been a guest?
Once. That's it.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then he vowed never to do it again.
You know why? Because you have no control.
Yeah. That's right. That's right. You're kind of flying helpless here, aren't you? You can listen to Rick every Sunday on KXPT, the point 97.1. I think it's from 10 to 12. Is that right?
8 to 10.
That's what I said. 8 to 10 for you in the wrong listening zones.
For those that have dyslexia.
Exactly right.
That thing.
And your show is all about jazz, right? You play a lot of jazz music, music-based?
Show's all about jazz. Show's all about local jazz musicians.
Right.
Show's all about stretching the boundaries out of the normal top 20, 30 jazz CDs that get played over and over and over again. We go really deep on the cuts. Boy, that's a 80s, 70s, 70s kind of thing.
Where's my tape cassette recorder?
I was going to ask him where his next gig is.
you can tell where I grew up in. And we're really high on supporting local musicians wherever we can and giving them a jump start. And a couple of careers we have jump started over the years, so that's been kind of fun.
Such as who? Give us a couple of names that we might be familiar with.
The one band that comes to mind is a band that's called Turning Point that is actually out of Scottsdale that play on a regular basis at Mandalay Bay.
Okay.
And we've also had some promotional efforts with Santa Fe and the Fat City Horns.
Okay.
Not a lot, but more so with people like that.
Okay. Very cool.
It's very nice. Rick, I'm relatively new to the radio. This March
I would have never known.
No, this March thank you. This March will be 6 years. We ask this question a lot too, and people have asked it to us as well. But if somebody wants to get in the radio, what would be the first piece of advice you'd give them?
I give you the same advice a guy named Dick Gibson in Denver, Colorado gave me. Well, what seems like 100 years ago. It was actually 1988, 89. He said, "Kid, just listen." I said, No, you don't understand. What books do I read? What courses do I take? He says, "No, man, just listen to the music." And I found that to be true over the years, in that when you program a show, you're creating a signature of yourself at the same time. And people can turn the radio on and know, oh, that's Gould's music, or that's John Boy's music over here. But it really comes down to, before you develop your voice, before you develop that FM voice, before you take on the star status, you do two things. You listen, and you master the control board as if it was a musical instrument. Everything else will follow. And I've trained dozens and dozens of kids over the years. And we always start with the first thing: master the control board. Everything else will follow. And just listen.
Great advice. Mm-hmm. Lucky for us, we have a producer, so we don't have to even look at that board.
Absolutely. Well, he just pushes buttons and he's on Facebook. How hard can that be?
Yeah, tough life.
Yeah.
You guys, there we go.
Over here now. I'll be more than happy to get on.
There you go.
No, we're having enough trouble mastering this side. So,
Rick, do you have any? I mean, you play it all the time, and God knows how many years has it been?
18 years at the point.
Do you have a favorite group or a favorite? I don't know. Special performer that you've met, or give us a little bit of that background.
It varies by genre within jazz. It varies by time frame as well. Back in the 80s, her name was Diane Shure, and she still plays in Vegas from time to time. Grammy Award winner, numerous albums to her credit. Blind at birth, and a virtuoso on the piano and the vocals, and I began to really become an incredible admirer of hers. And then as I progressed through the 90s, it became guys like Stanley Clarke and more modern groups like the Rippingtons. back in the 80s, it was 90s, it was Chick Corea and the Electric Band. They set the tone for what contemporary jazz became. Back then it was called fusion. So, and then today, surprisingly, it's musicians from Europe. We've had a number of international visitors in our studio. There's a guitar player named Unam, just an incredible player, plays also at the Encore from time to time. And then a husband-wife couple out of Bavaria who have made 2 appearances on our show live, called Three Style, Magdalena Shovikova and Robert Fertile. So it varies by what sound I'm trying to create for that show for that period of time as to who I really latch on to.
The jazz community in of itself is a small community compared to, let's say, some of the other music arenas, all right, pop or rock or metal or whatever the case may be. But it seems to be very specialized. I mean, you get people that, everybody knows who's in that community, knows everybody else. It's different than some of the other music areas. Wouldn't you agree?
We do stick together. There is power in numbers. All 4 of us.
That sounds like our listenership.
When I bring people along into appreciating jazz music, whether it be contemporary or straight ahead or big band, I start them with commercialized music, which is we refer to as smooth jazz, and it gives you kind of a easy listening approach to music, and then you sort of change the tempo and change the artist. But as a result of that, what happens is the group is smaller, but very loyal. However, I'm continually amazed at who the listeners are, where they come from, and their backgrounds. I mean, I get truck drivers calling me across the road. Hey, man, I really like that music. I got a call a number of years ago, and the guy says, this is back in my days in New Mexico. He says, hey, man, I've been listening to your show today, and I really like what you do. This is a big country western town, if you didn't pick up on that.
No, we missed that.
I thought it was from Brooklyn.
I said, thinking to myself, first of all, he's got the wrong radio station, but I was just getting started, so I took all calls. Well, what do you like? He says, oh, that music without words. I love that the best. Oh, you mean instrumental? Yeah, that too.
Great stuff. Where does jazz get its origins? Is it from gospel? Is it from soul? Where does it come from?
Deep inside Africa.
Really?
And slave. It has a couple different storylines. It came through the slave trades of the 1600s, when impoverished slaves would beat their hollowed out logs at night just to remind them of their home country. It also came later in life from New Orleans, and I learned this just a few weeks ago. Musicians would take jobs on ships, cargo ships, and if they got kicked off the ship, they had no place to go, so they took their music or their cooking or their art and they infused it into New Orleans. And so New Orleans certainly has become a birthplace of jazz as well.
Mm-hmm.
No question.
We need to stop there so we can take our bottom of the hour break. You're listening to Ric Gould, also a fellow DJ since 1987. Does a show here on The Point 97.1 every Sunday from 8 to 10 a.m. Jazz music is special, and we'll come back with more with Rick right after this. Brian, who lost his battle with illness earlier this week. Jimmy, we're thinking of you, buddy. Joining us in studio is a man who's normally behind the microphone asking the questions.
I am.
That seems to be tonight's pattern, because our guests in the second hour are also used to asking questions, and they're going to be in the hot seat tonight.
There you go.
That seems to be our theme tonight. Rick, let me ask you a question. You talked about your history and what you're doing, and I mentioned in your bio that you started in radio in 1987, but you don't just wake up one morning and say, I'm going to be on the radio. How'd you get started?
I kind of sort of did wake up one morning.
But I was wondering, you step into that.
I was only 5 years old.
Really?
Yeah, and this is back in the days, I'm going to date myself now, of AM radio only.
Wow.
And I was suffering from pneumonia. And this is in Odessa, Texas.
Wow.
Used to have a twang one time. And to pass the time, my mom brought in this big black box radio. And she turned it on. She says, "Listen to the music, Ricky. It'll help you sleep or relax or whatever." And the more I listened, the more in my little mind I was convinced people were standing in line someplace to sing their songs in a building. And some got to stand in line more than the others and sing the same song over. And I just insisted that my mother take me to this radio station once I got well.
Wow.
And she did. This was on a Saturday. We walked into she had called ahead to the general manager, and someone wants to see the people standing in line in the hallway to sing songs. Got into the studio, and there were these huge turntables that played 45s.
Yeah, really.
Yeah. And I said, "Hey, where are the people?" And he held up a 45. It says, "Right here." I said, "Wow. What do you do here?" I started asking questions, and next thing I know, I carried the dream of being involved in radio for like 20 years.
Wow.
It wasn't until I moved to, I was stationed in the Navy that I got transferred to Kodiak, Alaska. I got a chance to audition for a radio position, and I got it. And from that point on, I got hooked. And every time we'd go on vacation, "Let's stop at that radio station over there, not that national monument, dear."
That was your attraction, was the stations.
Yeah.
That must have been amazing for you, though.
And along the way, I got my first job, 1390 KENN radio, all of 5,000 watts in Farmington, New Mexico, for $3.15 an hour, I think.
Wow, now let's see, the demographics there would be about 8 miles to the east, about 5 miles to the south.
Yeah.
Because that's about 5,000 watts, right?
Yeah, exactly. And as a result of that, that got me into an FM station. Then I began to learn how to do newscasts, and then I learned how to do talk shows. We had this talk show that was like 40 years old. I was just a string of hosts at the Holiday Inn in downtown Farmington, New Mexico, where it was called This, That, and the Other for 30 minutes, and all the wiring was plugged into the wall. It was like that Ricardo Montalban scene out of Saturday Night Live. "You look marvelous." And as a result of that, I got hooked on talk radio, and then this is how I got into jazz. One day, I'm working a Sunday shift for $3.15 an hour, and the program director walks in, a guy named Steve Simmons, and he says, "I'd like to find somebody who could do a classical and a jazz program on Sunday morning all together. I've always loved instrumental music." I said, "I can do that?" I didn't know what the heck I was going to do, but I began to pull records from the library and buy cutout albums, and I learned to mix stuff. But it never had enough music. It was like Diane Shure. Who else? Stan Getz and the Beatles.
Yeah, really.
There wasn't enough music. And then I called my first radio station, the guy, GRP in New York City, a guy named Duke Dubois answered the phone. I said, "I got this station, has this show. You have to be on there 15 hours a week to get free music." Well, I said, "I'm on there 20 hours a week." He sent me a Apple crate of albums.
Wow.
And I began to mix and match, and then it just grew over the years. But that's like 25 years.
Wow, yeah, that's good. I just answered an ad on Craigslist. That's when I got started. 7 years ago.
Well, it took me, and I am deeply indebted to Tony Benici and John Griffith at Lotus Broadcasting for being there as long as I have. And I can have a really, really bad week, and I get into that control room, and as you all know, all your worries go away.
It's very true. Now, you have a somewhat infamous Christmas show that we've been hearing a lot about. Tell us about that.
Well, our show, Sunday Side Up, began about 16 years ago when I was at a Christmas party, and at the time the program director Richard Reed says, "Hey, we need someone to do a Christmas show. Can you do that?" I was getting all these Christmas CDs from the various record companies around the country. "I can do that!" I raised my hand again, and we began to collect enough music for a 6-hour program. We began to collect recorded stories. John Stiles is on one of the stories about his infamous torch riding on a bicycle in the middle of the night in New Mexico. And
I thought that was Paul Revere.
That's a story for another show.
So now we're entering our 16th year now, where we do. Our kids are all grown and gone, and they've moved away, and so our Christmas is with people on the radio who don't have people to share Christmas with. And we tell these incredible stories about the holidays and about Christmas, and play music you'll never hear anyplace else. Yeah, it's the standard 12 Christmas songs, but these are the 12 Christmas songs with a twist.
Like Grandma got run over by a reindeer.
The 12 Pains of Christmas, is that on there? I like that one.
So anyway, it starts at 6 a.m. and runs until noon.
And that's on Christmas Day?
Christmas Day.
Nice.
And we get up at dark 30 to get there. And
dark 30.
Yeah.
Not me, I'll be sleeping.
I don't know. You never
I'll
know.
be like him. I'll be here working.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, we're not doing a show that night, so
Well,
we can have our time off. BCN is coming in, I think.
Aren't you happy?
Anyway.
Maybe what I could do is I'll just call over to his station. Since we're owned by the same group, we can just talk back and forth.
That's right. Yeah, you can tell stories all day long.
That's right.
Okay? And then 30 minutes you can throw some Christmas jazz in there, and then we'll go back and forth.
That's what we have. This is a jazz related Christmas music, and it's not just "We Wish You a Merry Christmas." It's stuff like it's the time of the holiday, and we do a lot of Trans-Siberian Orchestra,
stuff.
Things like that, and we set the tone, which in the early morning hours is soft and it's easy and it's mellow, and then as the day progresses, so does the tempo. And then at the end we finish. We have finished with the same song for the last 16 years from a band called Acoustic Alchemy, "Angels of the South," and this has been our lead off or our ending song for all those years. So
How many hours is the show?
6. Well, our regular show is 2 hours.
No, I mean for
It's
the Christmas show.
6 hours.
I'm going to have to at least
Remember
try
he said get up at dark 30 to go on the road.
No, I got that. I'm just...
Okay, 6
One
hours.
year it was 8 hours, and never again. OMG.
So with 2015 coming up, what's on the agenda for your new year? More of the same?
Think about radio. Think about really any entertainment medium. You have to continually be reinventing yourself. And so we continue to pride ourselves on some incredible interviews we do with our artist friends around the country. But changing up the music a little bit, maybe diving deeper into some of the CDs that haven't got played for a while. But ultimately, always being aware that in radio, it's an ever-changing medium, and you need to be aware of so as the listeners change, so does the music.
How can people listen, Rick? Website, streaming?
Well, I'm glad you asked that question.
Let's get the
FM voice on.
There we go. 97.1 Sunday morning, 8 until 10. And then, of course, on the web at Point. That's POINT, point97.com. We are also on Facebook. Just type in my name, and there you are.
Very good.
It's excellent. It's a great station, by the way. I've been listening to it since I've been out here. I've never gotten up early enough on Sunday morning, though, to catch the show, but now it's got to be a must. Got to hear it.
So did I pass the audition?
I think you passed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Rick, thank you so much for coming in tonight, sharing some of your experience with us. We greatly appreciate it, and we'd love the opportunity to have you back on again somewhere down the line.
I would look forward to that. Thank you, guys.
You got it. Ric Gould, everybody. Coming up next, it's that time, Mr. Cash.
Yeah, we're going to do it with Styles.
Do it with Styles. JPEG comes out from behind the camera to present his weekly award. Don't go anywhere. You're not going to want to miss it. We'll be back.